Hello, everyone, and welcome to this VoLTE Taskforce session hosted by ROCCO. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Jay Olivieri. A little bit of history about me. My career in telecom spans 25 plus years, and I have been involved in roaming in one form or another for around 20 years. I'm currently working for Verizon Wireless as a product and strategic manager within the international marketing team. Our Verizon headquarters are in New Jersey, but I'm based in Dublin. So let me tell you what this VoLTE Taskforce is all about. The VoLTE Roaming Taskforce is an MNO member-only group which was formed in mid-2019 to assess VoLTE adoption, 2G, 3G decommissioning, VoLTE launch challenges, and the perceived low VoLTE focus across the industry, with a goal of driving VoLTE roaming launches through education, knowledge sharing, and collaboration across all facets of our industry. The task force outlines the benefits of the relevance of VoLTE in our industry, while also highlighting the need for VoLTE as our industry evolves. While we strive to get the importance of VoLTE out to the MNOs, it is important to note that this is not a one-way communication. We want to hear from the MNOs, as it is imperative that we understand the real operator experience and the real challenges faced in rolling out VoLTE. In my humble opinion, it's the operator story which provides the most valuable insights to help us as an operator community and the GSMA to move forward and evolve. Doing so enables us in the task force and the GSMA to address the challenges where feasible and work to simplify VoLTE implementations for the wider industry as a whole. So I implore you all, please share your experiences with us, no matter how large or small, and the task force will work with you all, and do our utmost to help where possible. We are a community which is focused on many of the same end results, and collectively, we will address the shared needs and outcomes. The task force is all about you, the operators you represent, and what you can contribute and achieve. Thank you all for your attention, and I will now hand over to Dhiraj.
Hello, everyone. I will start up and give you a quick brief of what the VoLTE Roaming Task Force is all about and what we're trying to achieve here. Well, the VoLTE Roaming Task Force is an MNO member-only initiative focused on driving VoLTE roaming launches globally. The task force was founded in mid-2019, and the idea was basically a lot of operators reached out to ROCCO and weren't very happy with the throughput of the launches that we were, as an industry, we were achieving for VoLTE roaming, and it just didn't seem to be going anywhere. And we also thought at the time these operators were coming up to us and saying that it looks like, various vendors have different lobbying groups and forums, and there isn't a really clean operator-only group which can look at specific problems that operators are facing. Normally, when you have a combined group, most vendors will obviously try and see how their own solutions fit in better and promote that. So we need an operator-only group also where we can look at these things. So primarily, ROCCO's facilitated this operator-only group. It is free for everybody, every MNO to join. It's an MNO-only group. There are no other agendas apart from just making sure that VoLTE picks up. And at the group, we discussed a lot about VoLTE, what was happening, why is VoLTE not picking up. But initially, we just realized the issue is actually so big that before COVID came along, it was the biggest issue facing the industry. I mean, most networks across the globe are decommissioning their 2G and 3G networks. The only issue is not everybody is making it public, but most advanced operators are closing down to their 2G and 3G networks. And what that means is, if you haven't launched VoLTE roaming with a network who's closing down 2G and 3G network, you will not be able to roam onto that network without VoLTE. And that is a huge issue. Can you imagine the impact it will have on your domestic business if your competitor launches VoLTE and is able to provide roaming to their customers all over the world as they do today, but you, on the other hand, start to see gaps appear in your roaming footprint. So to give you an example, AT&T has announced that they're decommissioning their legacy networks by February 2022. And if by that time you haven't launched VoLTE roaming with them, then basically your customers will not be able to roam onto their network. Obviously, you also have Verizon in the US with a VoLTE network, but again, if you can't roam onto them, then you only have AT&T's network available. So, but this is every single network across the planet. Most advanced, I should say, have plans of decommissioning. Some have actually actively announced it, but most think that this is confidential information and keep it to themselves. So it's a big, big challenge that we face in our industry today, and hence why we think that VoLTE roaming is really important and we need to get on with it. So why, if it is so critical, why has it not picked up? What's wrong? So we kind of looked at this, and all the operators who are part of the task force kind of contributed what their challenges were. And primarily it was people initially saw that there was no business case to a VoLTE roaming launch. And the reason for that is that most people hadn't realized about the decommissioning impact. And when they were doing business cases, get VoLTE roaming prioritized in their business roadmap, the only thing they could put is probably better voice quality and just keeping up with the new standards. But it just wasn't enough for the top management to fork money out for this. The other problem was obviously there wasn't enough transparency on decommissioning plans by operators. But if you, for example, are planning to decommissioning your 2G, 3G networks, please tell us. We're sharing this information with the wider operator community. And also please do tell GSMA as well, because they are also doing a similar exercise. There isn't a standardized way of doing things, although many standards have been set. When you actually get past the whole thing and you have a project to launch VoLTE roaming, when you start, you find out actually the way the standards are written, quite a few things don't actually work as per the standards, and the reality on the ground is very different from what is written in some standards. Even for testing, there isn't a standard way of testing, although there are certain templates available, but people are having loads of issues. And we'll go into this a bit more deeper in the next few slides. And VoLTE is not sexy enough. You know, all our top managements, they're all moved on to 5G. Everybody's talking about either 5G roaming or even IoT roaming with narrowband IoT, LTE-M. Those are the sexy words right now everybody wants to talk about. And if you go to your management and say, I want to launch VoLTE roaming, they think VoLTE is so last decade. It's already been done. They don't realize the impact that it has had, that we don't have VoLTE roaming. And last but not the least, VoLTE roaming, there's no customer shout associated with that. You can't launch VoLTE roaming and then go across town and say, we've launched VoLTE roaming, because customers don't care. All they want to do is make a call and have data. But they will obviously care if we haven't launched it and your customers suddenly lose roaming. But we're not there yet. There's no shout with VoLTE roaming. So what are the main issues that we found that everybody is facing? So one is with emergency calling. It just doesn't work that well with different handsets. And also, if you have more than 5 emergency numbers in your country, the system, the current standards don't support that. If you have a broadcast and 4G attached method, not all switch vendors support this. It doesn't really work. And there's, like I already mentioned, a wide variants on device types on how emergency calling works. And a lot of people within the task force have already gone through this. They've had to go through this on their own, but now we're capturing all this information. So new people who are coming in and who are joining don't have to reinvent the wheel. They don't have to go through this pain all over again, because there's a lot of experience in the task force and people are really willing to talk to each other and help them out to launch. Because at the end of the day, that's the beauty about roaming. You can't just do something on your own unless the whole community, everybody moves onto it. You have to roam with each other. You can't just roam with yourself, so to say. So there is a lot of help, and people are going out. Networks go out of their way to help other networks to make sure that they can launch their VoLTE roaming as quickly as possible. Legal intercept is other issue we've seen where there's a huge variance across the world how regulatory authorities see this. So, for example, in Japan, the Japanese authorities just don't care. There is no such thing as legal intercept or lawful intercept, as some people call it. They don't have any requirements. But on the other hand, somewhere like France, they're very, very strict. They would not only want what they have today, but they actually want more. They want stricter positions. And the way the standards are written, there isn't any OEM vendor, any switch provider who has actually implemented this solution. So again, we are finding out that we are almost, it's like the tail wagging the dog. The vendors, the OEMs have become so big that as an individual operator, you have very little leverage with them. They have their own roadmaps. They're all working on 5G. And when you talk to them about legal intercept, it's like you don't really get a comforting shoulder. They don't even have that on the roadmap. IREG testing, all those standardized test templates are available, but what people are finding out, they've had to send handsets, not only SIM cards, but also their own handsets to test. This is obviously unsustainable. You can't do that. But within the task force, we've actually made some progress in this respect, and we'll talk about it later. SRVCC, or Single Radio Voice Call Continuity, where basically if you're on a 3G network and you move on to 4G, the call automatically moves on to VoLTE and vice versa. It's way too difficult. Most operators have given up on it. Nobody even talks about it anymore. People have kind of accepted that, yeah, the calls will just drop. However, we do have some solutions which operators are working on. Handset manufacturer issues. Again, they have become so strong and have so much strength now that, you know, as an individual operator, you feel very small in taking your problems to them, and you don't get an ear that you can talk to them. In fact, the way Apple works is they really want you to launch the service first. Then they will test it, and then they will open their handsets for you. So can you imagine that you have to first launch VoLTE roaming for your subscribers, announce it, make sure everybody's using it. None of your customers who have an Apple handset will be able to use it. Apple will then come and test it, and then they will allow or open up their handsets to be tested. And if, as a single operator, you go and talk to them, there's not much you will get out of them. But as a community together, we're able to die. In fact, I was just talking about Jason from Verizon, and also Cameron Dunn from AT&T have really taken this back to Apple, and they're pushing them that it's not only just them, they need to cater to this on behalf of everybody, all the mobile operators. So it's in the task force, we really have got a really good community feel, and people are helping each other out and trying to have a joint, a more united front. What is the progress that we've made so far? We've now figured out there are specific handsets which can work globally, so you don't really have to send your own handsets for testing. And any operator, network operator joining the VoLTE task force will have access to that information, so you would know which handsets you can use for testing and not mess about or have to bother with sending your handsets to your roaming partners for testing. We also invited all the vendors to present, and there are many vendors who have very innovative solutions to help across the board for different parts of VoLTE. And anybody who has a solution has come and presented to the VoLTE task force, and we've got all this information anybody who joins the VoLTE task force, all this information is freely available to them. So again, you don't have to go around and reinvent the wheel. The task force can provide you all kinds of information. And once again, to stress, it is an MNO only task force, which is free for all MNOs to join. There is no fee, there's no subscription, all we ask for is everybody contribute, everybody bring your challenges that you're facing to the task force so that as a united front, we can deal with them. And like I said, documentation to all these solutions are available to all the members of the VoLTE task force. What are our next steps? We want to build a united front to deal with difficult OEMs and not have this problem where everybody is having to work in silo and having to find out their own, deal with those issues on their own. We're working with GSMA and putting information into them about what are the real issues that people are facing. Let's not just create standards which are theoretical, but not in touch with the real world problems that people are facing. And so this information is, we're trying to work hand in hand with GSMA to feed this information into them, that these are the problems. And what we find is most operators find that an easy way. If we go together as an operator community and reach out to these different bodies, we listen much more patiently. We have much more leverage. And obviously, what we want to do is keep building momentum, raise awareness of the challenge that we are having with decommissioning and why VoLTE roaming is really, really important. So, I mean, I would invite all the MNOs to join, if you can, the VoLTE task force and participate. There's a lot of information that we are sharing, and also we would love to have more contributions. Thank you very much for listening to that. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them now. Or if you want to join the task force, please reach out to hq@rocco.group. As you can see, we have a website, volteroaming.com. You can go to the website and look for information over there as well.